Welcome clients and guests to my channel. I'm Jason Cerro and I'm a licensed professional counselor. My videos are designed to educate and empower you to make informed decisions about your mental health. So here's a role play of the grandiose narcissistic mother and daughter exchange that involves a late adolescent girl talking to her mother about an upsetting situation that happened. Mom, I really need to talk to you about last night.
What is it, honey? Did Andrew break up with you after how you spoke to me?
What? No, Mom, everything between me and Andrew is fine. I don't even know why you would say that. What you did really hurt and embarrassed me in front of all of our family last night.
I embarrassed you? We had a good time until you started yelling at me and getting all crazy. You about lost your mind. What got into you?
Mom, the reason I yelled at you was because you blurted out that I was bisexual to everyone. Do you know how hard that was for me to even tell you that?
Oh, please. Now you're overreacting, making a big deal out of this. I can't even keep track of your generation today with this LGBT squared stuff you kids got going on. Let me tell you about embarrassing. One Thanksgiving, before I had lost all my baby weight, your grandmother brought out pictures of your delivery. Everyone was thinking how flabby and gross I looked. That was horrible.
Mom, this has nothing to do with your issue with Grandma. This is about how you drank too much like usual, broke my trust, and shared something deeply personal to me that I expected to be kept in confidence.
Oh, here we go. Now I'm an alcoholic and the worst mother in the world. I'm the bad guy like usual. Oh, by the way, since when is it against the law to have a glass of wine with my family? You know, you've got some nerve coming to me about this petty stuff. After all I've done for you, this is how you treat me? No respect. No respect.
You really are insane. In the early 20th century of classical Greek mythology, Narcissus was a hunter who turned down the advances from the nymph Echo and several other nymphs, and they were so enraged at being rejected, they summoned the Goddess of Retribution and Revenge, Nemesis, to punish him. As he stumbled upon some water, he noticed this beautiful man staring right back at him and fell in love with this image, which happened to be his own reflection. Narcissus was so heartbroken over not being able to be with his one true love that he eventually starved to death. And that was the end of him. Grandiose narcissism is part of what's referred to as the dark tetrad, which includes psychopathy, Machiavellianism, and sadism. Machiavellianism is not a clinical construct and has no mental disorder cousin, as it is essentially a popular term used to describe the manipulative game playing and exploitation of others to gain power, control, and rewards of all sorts. Grandiose narcissism's clinical construct is Narcissistic Personality Disorder, although not all who have narcissistic traits are actually diagnosed with Narcissistic Personality Disorder. Psychopathy's clinical construct is Antisocial Personality Disorder. Interestingly, about 85% of people with psychopathy, factor 1, there's two factors, would qualify for a diagnosis of Antisocial Personality Disorder. And sadism has a clinical construct called Sexual Sadism Disorder. So what we have here is 4 specific subclinical traits coming together but appear to be distinct enough traits that can be examined independently of one another, but they all share antagonism. These are the people in your life who are hostile, controlling, right fighters, and oppositional. Machiavellianism, psychopathy, narcissism, and sadism, along with greed and spitefulness, are significant dark traits that correlate with antagonism and disagreeableness on the 5-factor model. Be sure to check out my 5-factor model series because you'll understand more about this video if you learned about personality traits. It is even more strongly inversely correlated with the hexaco. That's the honesty, humility factor of normal personality variation, which consists of the facets of sincerity, fairness, greed avoidance, and modesty. Many people wonder how in the world such malevolent attitudes and behaviors manifest in a human being. While all of it is not clear, there are numerous maladaptive developmental issues that occur in utero, childhood, and throughout adolescence. Prenatal maternal stress was associated with higher caregiver-reported antisocial and psychopathy scores. During pregnancy, distress experienced by the mother causes the release of cortisol that crosses the placenta, affecting developmental outcomes that include alterations to the limbic system and prefrontal cortex, brain areas that are imperative to social behavior. Other causes are personality traits that were developed after early impactful and often traumatic experiences. Inconsistent parental interactions where insecure and anxious avoidant attachment to caretakers was experienced for the child. Temperament or biological inheritability can possibly be a factor, which would include baby agitation, being colicky, sensory sensitivities, or the baby is just difficult to soothe. People with grandiose narcissism, according to the 5-factor model, turn out to be extroverted, open to experience, actually conscientious, they have stable mood, and they're very disagreeable. They have very inflated self-esteem, they lack empathy, they exaggerate their achievements to make them sound more amazing than they really are, and can have self-righteous entitlement. They are controlling, dominant, arrogant, exploitative, and externalize their anger. They derive pleasure from manipulating people to do things they want them to do. They use money as a tool to provide leverage over others and some type of self-gain, knowing how to use pain to motivate people. And being feared is a tool. They do not seek pleasure, they seek control, dominance, and order. Interestingly, the narcissist's self-destruction confirms their unworthiness, but it's usually directly after that self-destruction is when they feel most productive. It's like the crisis woke them up out of a sleep. Others that may go down also are just a product of collateral damage. Without the narcissistic supply, the self does not exist. Narcissists are known to use cutting and self-harm methods so they can prove to themselves that they are actually alive. Now remember, narcissists have no real sense of self. So let's talk a little bit about their childhoods. As children, they were either told they were special or told essentially that they were unlovable. Their binary childhood helps create a binary belief system. I'm either all good or all bad. This is right or this is wrong. It's either black or white. You're either with me or you're against me. And for grandiose narcissism, it can be that spoiled, overindulged child without the emotional nourishment, harsh parental or caregiver criticism, scolding, and degrading parenting. Those parents will say things like, "You're such an ungrateful kid, you're so selfish, this is how you treat me after all I've done for you, I didn't raise you to be this way." A child expresses an emotion and it gets invalidated and turned into something about the parent. The child can rarely have a moment for themselves. Just about every normal misfortune that most kids go through is always robbed from them because their parent somehow, some way, always makes it about them. You're sad, now you're making mommy sad, don't do that, or now I'm angry because you're overreacting about this. You're overreacting and making a big deal out of nothing. The child can't just have an emotion of their own without it being judged or wrong in some way. This is not how I wanted to spend my night. I don't deserve this. So love is essentially conditional, and parents think their children are an extension of themselves and not as individual minds, bodies, and spirits. Parents act entitled to how they physically manipulate their children, crossing many physical respect and safety boundaries. I made you. You wouldn't be here because of me. I own you until you're 18. There's just exposure to chronic toxic stress. I'll have follow-up videos on these kinds of narcissistic exchanges that will include mothers and sons, fathers and daughters, and fathers and sons. So if you like what you see so far, please hit the like button and subscribe, and please pass it along to others that you think that this would be helpful to. As always, be where you are, be resilient.